are you? Sorry, we were having just a tiny bit of technical difficulties, and I think hopefully it's all squared away. My name is Margaret Wiltshire. I am your host. This is the video podcast Lifestyle by Design, Not Default, where I share the stories of individuals, everyday individuals living their passion. They are on path, doing what they love, and helping to make the world a better place. Tonight, my very special guest is my college buddy, Ian Hart. So Ian, I want to thank you for being so generous with your time and coming to talk to us tonight about taking responsibility for your life, taking risks, and programming your mind for success. Welcome, Ian.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So Ian, you are in South Carolina right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How's the weather down there?
It's rainy and we're preparing to get ready for a little bit of a hurricane. We might not get hit directly, but we will probably get hit on the periphery. Okay.
We're having some of that rain up here in New York also. And hopefully, it turns around and some other stuff happens,
Right.
So we went to school for accounting. We were accounting majors. And now you are a fitness entrepreneur. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, my whole life I was into fitness. I grew up playing basketball. I played every sport, actually. I excelled at every sport. That was just like my thing. That was my passion, what I was good at. But I really excelled at basketball. And so I played basketball my whole life. But I never thought fitness could be a profession. And I listened to what everybody else was telling me, which was go to school, get a business degree, get a good job, etc. And I didn't even think about what it was that I wanted, what I was passionate about, what was good for me. And it wasn't until my early 20s. Luckily, I found it in my early 20s. A lot of people don't find it till later on. But with some soul searching, a lot of trial and error, I've done a lot of jobs in my life, and I figured out what was my passion and my line. So.
Okay, that's nice. Tell me about your journey to becoming a fitness entrepreneur.
So I got out of college. I did a little bit of traveling. Then I ended up getting a job, a 9-to-5 desk job. And it wasn't me. I was the kid when I was like 5 years old. The teacher told me to sit down in class constantly because I was always up and moving, and like I had to do my work standing up, which I still don't know why that's a problem, but they want you like sitting in your chair. And for me, sitting at a desk all day, 9 to 5, was not my thing. When you're in line with your passion and purpose, it. And I knew it, and everybody I worked with knew it. And everybody I worked with was always asking me fitness advice. And they're like, how do you get in shape? How do you do this? Blah, 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 blah. Always asking me questions. And so I did some soul searching. I ended up going to officers training for the Marine Corps. I went through officers training, but I declined my commission. They gave me a year to decide whether I wanted to do it. That was probably one of the toughest decisions in my life, but I really, I had to, think with my heart on that one. And so you froze up there. Can you still hear me? Hello? Margaret?
Now?
Yeah, now I can.
You can hear me? Okay, so there you go. Sorry about that, folks. But it's expected. So you last left off where I last heard you were saying that you were doing a bit of soul searching.
Yeah, so I was doing some soul searching. Did you hear when I mentioned that I went to OCS for the Marine Corps?
Yes.
Okay. So then after that, I decided that wasn't my path. And then I came out of the Marine Corps, and I knew I was never going to do a 9-to-5 job after that. You know, I excelled really well physically in the training. I knew I had a passion for fitness, and someone said, "Hey, you know, you'd be a good personal trainer." And so I said, "All right, I'll try it out. It sounds better than any other option." So I went into personal training, and I excelled rapidly. I became one of the best trainers in the country. It was a national company, and one of the best in personal training. And then I became a manager of the department, where I was hiring, managing trainers, etc. I became kind of like the fixer, and they would move me from departments to the bigger departments to kind of fix it up and make sure that everything's running smoothly. And this was in New York City at the time. And then I went over to Crunch. I had a friend who's the national director of Crunch. He asked me to come over and do the same thing for them, promotion to the next level. And then I was doing that for a while, and I figured that I knew I always wanted to start my own business. I had been saving for 3 years to do that. And I knew I could create something better than the big box gyms that just had personal trainers there serving them. And I could create a system that was a need. So like fast results, double the results in less time, all based on science, and all exercise science, and for people who wanted to burn fat, gain lean muscle, lose weight. And so I ended up in South Carolina. I didn't foresee that, but here I am.
Okay. So, when did you discover that, or what was it, that made you say, I can do this, and I can do this for myself instead of working for another company? Because it seemed like you rose up the ranks. You went up the ranks, corporate, in a corporate setting, somewhat for the fitness industry, so to speak. You were working for big corporations,
right?
Fitness corporations. What was that process like? Can you take me through that and let me understand, what was going through your mind, or what led to you saying, you know what, I can do this on my own, and I can do this better?
Well, I think that's one of the things that has made me or get to where I am, is that I wasn't afraid to take risks at the time. I was in a really comfortable position. I had a ton of clout, let's say, in one of the jobs, and then I left that job for another job, and they would, put the fear in me, like, hey, you're not going to excel on the other side. This is the best company, etc. And then the same thing happened when I left the other company, and I just figured, you know what, I'm young. I have a lot of ambition, a lot of drive, a lot of energy. Let's do it now. And I was in New York City. I was kind of burnt out from what I was doing. And it was 30 degrees in New York City, and it was 80 degrees in South Carolina. And so I was like, I came down here, and then 2 weeks later, I moved.
There's some motivation for you. Nice warm weather.
Yep.
So when did you discover? So you fell in love with fitness and personal training. You realized you were doing well in that. You can do this on your own. You were getting results. Right. Now you are also the creator of 2 back pain program reliefs and you have 2 websites. I'll allow you to mention the websites. And when did you get into that? And can you tell me a little bit about how you got into that?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the co-creator of what's called Back Pain Relief for Life. And I'd suffered with back pain for 10 years. And during basketball, I fell on it a couple of times and broke a small piece of my back. And I thought I was doomed for back pain the rest of my life. And I had been searching and searching. I had tried everything from, I could go through a list of 20 things that I had tried. And so I was searching, figuring out and studying how the back works, how to relieve back pain. And then I met a trainer in New York City. I actually hired him, and he had a program that he used at the university he was at, that he learned at the university. And so we put our knowledge together and created what's called Back Pain Relief for Life. And so it's a step-by-step simple program, all natural, so no gadgets, no need for fancy equipment. People can do it anywhere, anytime, and it allows for healing and recovery, more blood flow, nutrients, and oxygen to get to the back, decompress the spine, mobilize the hips, and then strengthen the core so that the spine is supported. And we've had tremendous results with that.
Okay. And that's really amazing, you know, to not only get results for people who want to look better and lose weight and live a healthier lifestyle, but now you've got this niche, back pain, and you came up with a solution to offer to people from your journey. You know, you going through this, you know, you're able to help thousands of people, you know, and in your bio, you know, it mentions that you help thousands of people throughout 60 countries. You know, can you tell me a little bit about what that's like?
Yeah, well, we wanted to be able to reach as many people as possible because we knew this program could help people. We had tremendous success with it, and 80% of the population will at some point have back pain or deal with back pain. You know, we see it with our clients all the time. Like, it's just, it comes and goes. And so we created an online business that allowed people to log in and watch the videos and do the program on their own, while we coach them as best we can virtually. And so our program has been bought in countries that I didn't even know existed. And now I know they exist. And yeah, it's pretty awesome, what can be done online and how you can reach people all over the world and change their lives.
I think that's pretty awesome, and I commend you for doing that. And that's a long way from accounting.
Yes, long journey away.
A long way. So tell me, in your journey to discovering your passion and in your journey to making a living from your passion, how do you take responsibility for your life?
Well, I guess it's a kind of a complicated question and a simple question at the same time. But for the most part, because I hired and trained, and I worked with mostly trainers in the last 10 years, but I find the people that are the most successful and continue to be successful are the ones that are true and honest with their capabilities, where they are passionate, their talents, and stranger feedback. Like, people give them feedback and then they navigate and change the things that they need to improve on. So it's a daily process, I think, of creating awareness and raising your level of consciousness to be able to take responsibility for your life and affect your reality, so that you can create the reality you desire. I don't know if that answers the question specifically, but there's many ways I can go with kind of taking responsibility.
Okay. So let's say, for example, someone who, you know, they're unhappy or they're miserable at their job. You know, maybe they've got a family.
Right.
They've got these responsibilities, and, you know, their dream seems distant. Seems
Right.
like that, a dream.
Yeah.
But, you know, our dreams tend to haunt us. Or when we're out of alignment, we're unhappy with
Right.
you know, all these things happen and life just seems, you know, dull. So how can one at that point, knowing that maybe they have these responsibilities like a family that takes priority,
Right.
how would you recommend that they take responsibility for their life and start heading in that direction that they want?
Yeah, based on and this is based on neuroscience, so this is not like you know, it's just my opinion. Basically, what we do on a daily basis is based on our thoughts and feelings. And our thoughts and feelings are based around our environment. And so what people can start to do is look at their environment, you know, who they surround themselves with, what they wear, what they do for themselves, how do they take care of themselves, what do they watch on TV, you know, all those little details create feelings. So for example, if someone goes to a job that they hate and they dislike, that's creating negative, or I don't want to say negative, but let's say low vibrational feelings, and you can call them negative. So those low vibrational feelings are literally preventing them from ascending up the success ladder, and it's holding them down. So the good news is that every pain or symptom or feeling or all those things are all a calling for you to take care of it. So all pain is there for somebody to say, hey, wake up, this is something you need to address. So taking responsibility for that. And if you don't take responsibility, it'll manifest in other ways into whatever, could be an illness or something greater and bigger, so that it says, hey, you really need to take responsibility for this. You need to face it and change so that you're not moving in this direction. So those feelings can dissipate and disappear.
Okay. I totally agree with you. And going back to something you mentioned about, you know, the people that we surround ourselves by, I was on a call the other day, and Jarek Robbins, Tony Robbins' son, was leading the call, and he said something very interesting that it was so profound, and you know, it's something that sometimes we don't pay attention to. He said there are a lot of people who want to do a lot of things, and you know, we don't surround ourselves by with the correct people who can help us. And he said, you know, a lot of people say, for example, you want to live a spiritual life.
Right.
Are you hanging out with people who, you know, this is their lifestyle? They're very spiritual and do spiritual things. And it's true. And I actually had to take a look at myself. And there's some things that I want to do. And I was like, wow, he's absolutely correct. I'm not even, you know, doing these things or in this area. And I thought that was very interesting. And we are an average of the people that we hang out with all the time. And if we're in an environment that's unhealthy, or we're in an environment that we don't want to be in,
right.
It has a negative effect on us. So I totally agree with you there. And it's extremely important for people to become conscious of that.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't even think about even the small things. Like they might wake up in their house and have a picture of somebody that was like an ex, you know, girlfriend or boyfriend. And that picture might bring up negative emotions. So something as little as that, like every day you wake up and you don't even consciously recognize it. But if you do an environmental audit, you can start to see like, well, actually, I hate that couch. And these clothes, I don't even love them. Like, I don't know why I wear them. I don't feel good in them. And I probably, you know, should get a manicure, and that makes me feel good. Like what builds the person's confidence? What makes them feel better? So an environmental audit of what brings your energy down and then what lifts you up is a very powerful thing. And it can change your feelings and it can change your life right away.
Wow, it's pretty powerful. Thank you. So we also want to talk about, in addition to taking responsibility for our life. So you mentioned, you know, now we say, okay, this is the area that things aren't working. I recognize it, I'm aware of it, and I need to fix it so that I can move forward in a direction that's and a direction that I want to move into.
Right.
So one of the things we have to do is take risks. How do we take risks? And are they calculated risks? You know, what does that mean?
Right. Yeah, that's a good topic, because a lot of people, like I ended up in college listening to what others told me, and I didn't follow my heart and my intuition and do what was, you know, what my, like, let's say if I was connected to a higher source, or like whatever it is, my higher self, let's say, is telling me to do deep in my heart. Once I started to connect with those things and started to actually listen to what I felt is the right thing for me, it was easier to take risks, and I had more of a purpose and a meaning behind it. And then, you know, risks are always scary, but it's better if you know you're in line with your passion, what you're looking to do, and your talents. And then, and this is something that everybody can do out there, is create a Venn diagram. So passions, list like 20 passions, 20 talents, and then the greatest contribution. List them all out and then narrow them down to just one or two. And then where they intersect is an area where the person thrives, and no one else in the world will have those experiences, those passions, those talents join together. So it's a unique position for where that person thrives. And so that's a lot of times where people can make their living doing the things that they love and are passionate about.
Okay. That's
And then so let me say, then once you figure out what it is, then it's doing the next right action. So a lot of times people stop at that and they think like, oh, this is what I want to do. They'll have that urge and that calling, but they actually won't take action on it. And so you're being called to take action on it. The people who take the action reap the rewards. And so, you know, if I didn't decide that, if I had never done all the things, all the risks that I took, I would never be where I am today. I wouldn't have the success I had today. When I look back, I would probably be stuck at Equinox or Crunch in the corporate gym. I'd still be working, you know, whatever hours I was working, like 7 to 9 a lot of times, and just in the rat race in New York City. And my bubble would have been small, and but I took the risks, and now my bubble is a lot bigger.
okay. That is very, very powerful, and I commend you for taking that risk, because a lot of us are too afraid and a lot of us don't take the risk. And that's really important what you said, and I want to re-emphasize it, is that when we are in total alignment with our passion, it's easier to take the risks. And it's almost like it's the next step in the journey, to take the risk in the direction that we want to go in.
Right.
So tell me, in doing that and in moving forward in that direction, there were some things, I'm sure there were fears and challenges you faced. Tell me about the top 3 things that you personally had to let go of in order to move forward.
Oh man. Well, I had to let go of who I was before I came down to South Carolina. Like, I was this super fit individual who thought he was invincible, who was like featured in Men's Health magazine, Self magazine, like all these publications. And then I took my health for granted, and I ran a race while I was under the weather. And it really just, I should have never done it. And it really hit me hard. So I actually started my business when I was like at the weakest mentally, physically, and I still identified with that person who was in amazing shape, really, you know, really strong. And I had to let go of that person, and I became a new person, because I actually dealt with, like, I had brain damage. Yeah, I ended up in a hospital. I almost died. It like snowballed into something worse. And I had to literally rebuild who I was. And while I was rebuilding me, I was building a business. And I had to leave myself behind. That was one of the toughest things. I don't know if that's what is that like something you're asking for?
Yeah. 'Cause sometimes in order for us to move forward, sometimes we've got beliefs that we have to get rid of in order to move forward. Sometimes we have to erase the script that other people write on us. And sometimes we have to go through literally these physical transformations. And you seem to have been spiritually, it seemed like something was like breaking you down to build you back up.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely an experience. And along the way, in the last, like, let's say 12 years, I have been clearing and deleting things from my belief system that don't serve me. And that's part of actually what I teach now is, like, energetic blockages that are preventing us from realizing our dreams. And a lot of times we don't know them. We don't know that it's even there. So, like, if something happened to us in the past, that's like an imprint on our energy or in our mind. And it's a belief that, like, for example, one that I can always give is money, because it's easier for people to relate to, is, growing up and hearing that money doesn't grow on trees, money is evil, all these things. And as soon as that's accepted as true, people will not be able to have the financial success that they want, because they believe money is evil. So if they make money, they have to do it a bad way. And so it's just like a relationship. Everything's a relationship. So money could be like, if I was having a relationship with money and I thought it was evil and terrible, would I want to date that thing? Right? No. So, the relationship you have with whatever needs to be nurtured. And if you have an issue, it has to be reprogrammed essentially in your brain, in your consciousness, let's say.
I totally agree with you. So tell me about, what does it mean to program your mind for success?
Well, being in the fitness industry, we see a lot of people change, and change is great, especially if it's helping you. But transformation is where we want to go. So, for example, if somebody has an issue with weight, they have, just like the money issue that I was talking about, they will have energetic blockages to get them to where they want to be. So they'll come through the door with us and they'll get dramatic fitness results, but they actually haven't changed the issue that caused them to gain the weight in the first place. That is change. A transformation actually happens on the brain level. And so I don't want to get too deep into it in terms of like the neuroscience of it, but I'll try to explain it in layman's terms. But so we have 3 layers of our brain, and there's, depending on what part of neuroscience you're talking about, but like the reptilian brain, the old mammalian brain, and then the neocortex or the neo-mammalian brain. And if somebody is in threat, or they are in fear, or they have something that is causing their reptilian brain, which is fight, flight, and freeze and reaction mode, they are unable to use their prefrontal cortex. And that's where like higher levels of consciousness are, creating vision, creativity, logic, reasoning. And life is all based on prediction and response. So if we can predict something, we have less threat. So basically, threat needs to be removed from the person, and that's the first step. And then once threat is removed, and so this can be done in different ways. Once the threat is removed, then you can start the process for transformation. And then the more conscious something is made, so someone might say, I have a goal to do X, Y, and Z. Let's say they want to lose 20 pounds. If they don't have meaning behind it, then that doesn't have value. So they have to make the neuro associations and connections to have more meaning as to why they need to lose 20 pounds. Because if they don't have the meaning, they won't have the value, and then it won't be conscious in their brain. So if it's not conscious in their brain every day, they won't repeat the pattern, which it comes through reps. So sets and reps is what creates like a bigger neural pathway. And the more reps and sets we do of something, the more it gets deeper into the brain, into the subconscious, and then it becomes automatic.
Okay.
Right? So like an example would be someone, like when you drive a car, you go into a car and you're used to driving in the car. You can go into like a hypnotic state in the car, right? That's actually passed off. That task is passed off to the basal ganglia in the brain. And you just do it automatically, and it frees up your prefrontal cortex so you can start thinking about other things. And then that's why you'd say like, oh, I don't even remember like driving the last 20 minutes or what I was doing for the last 20 minutes, because you've done it so many times that it's automatic. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It's a complicated subject, which I try to explain simply.
I understand. I'm following you.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we understand how those things happen, do you hear the rustling back there?
Yes. A little bit.
Weird. Okay. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. I'm sitting next to a back door and I think somebody's moving some stuff around.
No problem.
So with knowing this now, right? How do we actually put this into place for achieving a goal, for achieving success in our life? How does that work? And
So
what does it look like?
The action steps. Yeah, so there's a step process, and that's first set your intention. What is it that you want to do? So writing down the goal, right? And you can write it down. The best thing is it has to be written down. So it has to be made conscious. Once it's written down, you need to ask yourself, do I have anything that's blocking me from achieving this, right? And the other question is this goal achievable? Like, will my subconscious mind believe it, right? So if you're like telling yourself, I want to make $100 million, well, you should probably set a goal for like making, 500,000 or something first. Or I want to lose 100 pounds. Well, set a goal for 5 or 10 pounds first, all right? And then, yeah, is there anything blocking me from achieving that? And then the next right action to take. So what is the next right action? So I want to lose 20 pounds. Is there anything blocking me from doing it? Yes, I don't have the discipline. I don't have the know-how. I don't have the accountability. Okay, so how am I going to lose 20 pounds? Well, I'm going to seek personal training, right? That's when people come into our door and then sit down and then we go through the process. So once they take the next right action, then they do it enough times, right, that consistently with enough reps that it can start to become a habit, right? So like if somebody comes in and they train here for 2 months, 3 times a week, and then they stop, it hasn't become a habit.
Okay.
Right? If they've trained here for 6 months, 3 times a week consistently, it gets put into their brain, and now it's like part of their weekly chore, right? Just like brushing your teeth. So the only thing I forgot to mention, the more emotion that is put into it, the less reps have to be done. So like that's why you'll see people have a total change of heart or change of habit when they have like a near-death experience. So that near-death experience was enough emotion that it only took one rep for them to completely change their life. So he froze up there. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. It's freezing up a tiny bit. I think I'm with you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, what do you think, now come to what do you think about when they say it takes 21 days to form a habit? Some people say 21, some people say 41. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the College of London did research in 2009 on that. And what they came up with is that it takes an average of 66 days for someone to form a habit, but it was an average. So it could take somebody, you know, let's say 254 days. Well, it took somebody 40 days to, you know, form a habit. But really it comes down to, you know, if someone's been sitting on a couch for 40 years, they're going to have a harder time. Like, say someone's never been in fitness and they've been sitting on the couch for 4 years, they're going to have a much harder time getting into fitness than someone who played sports growing up, got into fitness, and then stopped for 5 years. So it really depends on like the neural pathways in the brain, what associations it has with working out, and how they engage in the working out.
Okay. I've done things like I've done a 30-day vegan challenge, right? Which is past the 21 days, and probably on maybe the 32nd day, I've gone back to eating meat.
Right.
So, I've kind of tested that a little bit, and I'm not sure that exactly works for me.
Yeah.
I've got two questions here.
Yeah.
One's from Lewis. How do you use your brain to get out of back pain?
Yeah, so that's actually what our program's designed for. It's the program we created is a neuromuscular program. It's kind of like picking a lock inside the brain. It's a specific formula where we activate certain muscles so that the mind connects with the body. And so there's like a hierarchy of threat that the body has. And for example, the hierarchy would be like oxygen, right? If you don't have enough oxygen in your body, then your stress level is going to go up. You're going to have more heightened threat, and your range of motion in your body is going to go down. You can actually test this out right now. So you can sit on the floor, do a sit and reach test, touching your toes, right? See how far you can get, and then lay down, take 5 to 10 deep belly breaths, like deep down into your pelvis. Hold it for about 4 seconds, breathe out, and then try it again. And you'll notice right away that you will reach like 2, 3, 4 inches, depending on how well you did the breathing. So what that tells me is that since you're deprived of oxygen in certain areas, the brain is under stress and you don't move as well. The next one is vision. So if your vision's impaired or restricted, which a lot of people are sitting at the desk all day, your stress level goes up, your threat level goes up. If you are decreased in proprioception is our body's awareness in space, and this is connected with the back program. So if your brain is lost its map as to where the back is, like it's not even connected because someone's like sitting at a desk all day, just moving and increasing proprioception will help. So along with doing specific movements and breathing techniques and stuff like that, you can relieve back pain fairly easily. And it depends on how severe the person's issue is, etc. But yeah, so our program increases proprioception to the hips, the lower back, and then also brings more blood flow, nutrients, and oxygen. So, I can't really explain, you know, how do you use your brain to get out of pain, but that's a couple options. So breathing techniques, eye movement techniques. You can do some of them now. Like I just go like this and I look at one thumb and then the other thumb, just to move your eyes. That will decrease stress to the body. Yeah, those are just a few things.
Okay. I think
Yeah, did that answer the question? I don't know if Lewis is still there, so.
yes, he's still here. So Lewis, if he's answered your question, please type in and let us know. The next question comes from Rick. How do you turn what you've been doing, how do you turn what you have been discussing and turn it into a habit or find that discipline?
Yeah, that's a good question. Discipline, a lot of people think that discipline is the key, and there is a little bit of truth to that, but it's really finding what you love to do and the passion that you have, because when you have that in place, you're going to do more sets and reps of it naturally, right? So it's not about discipline. It's about finding what you're driven to do, what your life purpose is, like what is it that you have meaning and value behind. So, for example, Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning, what he found, or what he explains, is that meaning is actually more important than happiness, because happiness is fleeting, and once you find meaning, you have a greater drive and purpose. And so that will bring that to the front of your brain, and you'll focus on that one thing more. And then the discipline should just be automatic. Like you wake up and you say, I have meaning in my life. This is my purpose. This is what I know I'm set here to do. And now I'm going to go out and take the action, right? So again, with this all being said, you can't have aversion to doing work. So, you know, some people just don't want to work. Like they want to sit down like, oh, what am I going to do? Like you have to, you know, think about what you want to do, and then you have to actually, you know, go out and work and not be scared of putting in some extra hours and working hard and, you know, doing sometimes things that aren't necessarily the most enjoyable, but it brings greater meaning into your life.
Okay. Okay. I put in the chat box a link to the free back pain quiz that you have, and you wanted to share with everyone. They can take a quiz to find out what's happening with their back. Cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, the quiz?
Yeah, sure. We created a quiz for people who are suffering from back pain to give them some information that would help them if they're doing the wrong things. So there's a lot of details. I call them like devil, like look it out for the devil in the details, because it's the details of the movements that you're doing all day that's building up to the major bang, I threw my back out. So it's never that someone just throws their back out. It's the sleeping wrong, right? So waking up and doing like stretching because your back is tight, or twisting and popping because your back is tight. It's the brushing your teeth hunched over right in the morning when your discs are filled up with fluid and your back is tighter. That's how the body recovers. It's putting on your shoes wrong. It's picking things up wrong, getting in your car wrong, lifting wrong. All those things build up. And so one thing that's important, I think, to mention here, because I hear this all too often, is degenerative disc disease. It's not actually a disease, but everybody's discs decrease a little bit. And so over time, people will just get pain because of that. But, you know, Dr. Stuart McGill, who I've interviewed before, you know, says the doctor doesn't tell you you have degenerative face disease when you have wrinkles on your face. So degenerative disc disease is a natural occurrence that's occurring in the body. Yeah, so I kind of went off. I don't know if that helps.
No,
So,
that was, about the quiz.
yeah.
So when they take this quiz, what will there be an answer to, like, what happens after they take the quiz? Will they grade it?
However they answer the questions, is when they put their email in, we'll send them answers to what would help them prevent back pain and then decrease their back pain. For example, like if they sleep on their stomach, or we ask how they sleep. Yeah, so that right away. Yeah, that right away puts stress on their back. So if you can't get over that, the best thing to do is put a pillow under your hips, and that'll take stress off your back. If somebody sleeps on their side, to put a pillow between their knees to take pressure off their back. Someone sleeps on their back, put a pillow under their knees to put pressure or take pressure under their back. So those type of things. All the things that might be causing them pain, like are they sitting all day? So yeah, we ask those questions, and then if they answer, depending on the answer, we'll send them an email with more information, and then also offer them to try out the back program if they're interested. If they're in that much pain, it can be extremely helpful.
Okay. So my son, who's looking at this interview, has a question.
Sure.
His question is, do you know anything about strength and hypertrophy?
Hypertrophy.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah. Yeah, what does he want to know exactly about it?
Okay, I'll ask him.
Like how to get bigger? He wants to get bigger or stronger?
Both.
Both. Well, there's a few different ways to do it. Strength training is a certain set and rep scheme. So, people think strength is, like people will go to, I don't know, Pilates or something. And they'll say, oh, I get stronger. Like, no, strength is actually 5 reps of your max, like 5 to 8 reps of your max. So, if 1 rep was 100% of your max.
Oh, I'm losing you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It froze up a little bit there.
Can you hear me now?
I last heard strength is 5 to 8 reps of your max.
Yeah, you can get strength gains up to 10 reps, right? So strength, like if you're doing 10 reps max and you want to build up to doing 5 to 8 reps. So, you wouldn't go into the gym and just start doing 5 to 8 reps because you're going to go into overtraining. So you go into the gym, you do, say, you adapt your body by doing more endurance training. So if he's training already and he's been doing endurance training, he could maybe move up to the 5 to 8 rep scheme. But I would start off, 10 reps of 2-minute rest intervals and doing like 3 or 4 sets to start out, depending on what shape he's in. So like, that's what our job is as a trainer, like to see where you're at, what your current fitness level is, where your neuromuscular system is, etc. And then hypertrophy training has to do with keeping your muscle under tension, time under tension. And so the rep schemes for that are usually 8 to 12 reps, but they're less rest in between. So 8 to 12 reps with about a minute rest in between. And then you really push yourself to feel the burn, try to get, push out the last few reps, and then eating properly as well, getting enough protein. So yeah, those are the 2 rep schemes that I would recommend. It can go much more deeper than that, but that's like basic level.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Not all the time. He's a gym rat.
Good.
Okay. So before we sign off, I know that we're on a deadline here. Can you give me 3 action steps that people can take right now that they can implement in their life tonight? 3 action steps.
Yes.
That they can take now to start living their dreams.
Perfect. Yeah. The first one would be an environmental audit. So looking at your environment, what builds confidence for you, what makes you feel bad, what pieces of clothing do you not love, what people like do you not like, what is it, that would be the first step. The second step, I would recommend the Venn diagram. And there's two different types of Venn diagrams. One would be your passions, your talents, and your greatest contribution, right? The other one would be stranger feedback, what you can talk about effortlessly, what you've been doing for the last 10 years, and then all put together. And then there's other things that you can put in there, like, so like what did I say, stranger feedback. So what do people come up to you and tell you, like, hey, you're good at this. Hey, you should do this, right? So that's how I ended up in fitness. Yeah, stranger feedback. What have you been doing the last 10 years? And what did you grow up around? That's the last one. So what did you grow up around? Were your parents doctors? Did you talk about the body? Did you learn things through osmosis? Were your parents lawyers? Did you grow up as a mechanic? Like, if you took all those things and brought them together, that's another action step, and that will point them in the right direction. And then the last one would be set your intention, and then clear any blockages that you might have. And that can be done through asking. The answers will come if you write down the question, or meditation can help. And then taking action on that, listening to, the answers. The answers are there deep down inside. We know what the answer is, and then taking action on that, taking the next right step that's in line with what the answer comes to them as.
Okay. So Ian, briefly before we go, who's your biggest inspiration?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know. I have a lot of inspirations. It depends on like what areas too.
In life, so like just life in general, not business, not, just in your life in general.
Well, I have a mentor now that is, his name is Toby. Shoot, I'm blanking on his last name. That's not very good. But yeah, anyways, he's a spiritual mogul, and he's actually great at business. He's great at webinars too. You might want to look him up. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name though. But yeah, for him, he's in line with what my sole purpose is, and my sole purpose, I know, is to help people raise their vibrational frequency so that they can have more health, success, etc. Yeah, Toby Alexander.
Okay.
And so he is kind of inspiration for me, and somebody that I looked up to and has helped me a lot throughout the way.
Okay. What is your favorite app?
My favorite app?
Yep.
Oh my God. I gotta look at my phone and think about that. I guess it'd have to be Facebook. Is that totally lame? Is that totally lame?
No. Facebook is my favorite apps too.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of business on Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, that's really like, I don't really use many apps, to be honest.
Okay. And what's your favorite cheat meal?
Oh God. If people saw what I ate, I guess my cheat meal would be avocado, or avocado oil chips. So there are chips cooked in avocado oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. I can't really cheat. It's a gift. It was like a curse and a blessing. I can't. I became extremely food sensitive when I went through that whole thing, and when I ended up in the hospital. So I have like numerous sensitivities. So I can only eat like certain things, but it's getting better. So.
Okay. Glad to hear that. And I know that you have recently become a new dad.
Yes.
So what's that like?
Oh my God, it's the best thing in the world. Yeah, it's indescribable. That's something that gives meaning, you know, like that's one of those things that Viktor Frankl talks about is like, you know, kids don't create that. Sometimes they don't create happiness, but they create meaning. Mm-hmm. And the more meaning you have in your life is better. Like they did a study where the parents would actually rather be playing a sport or doing something else than talking to their kids. But they have more meaning because they have their kids, and now their life is better with that. So yeah, for me, it has more meaning and more value, and life started, I think, when I had my son.
Yeah, I'd say that about my daughter. You know, I have 3 kids, and my oldest, you know, it transforms you. Yeah. And I think that your children actually make you better.
Yeah.
You know, and they will be your greatest teachers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've learned a lot already in just a year.
Yeah, you've got a lot more to learn. It'll be an amazing journey. So before we go, and we're going to go soon because I know that your time is restricted, I wanted to talk about the retreats. If you wanted to talk quickly about the retreat that you would be doing in November in Costa Rica.
Oh yeah, sure. So what I found is, you know, in our training facilities, people come in for 35 minutes, right? And it's hard to transform people. But during a retreat, when you exclusively have their undivided attention to work things out, in 5 days, you can make tremendous progress and make massive leaps and transformations. So that was why I created the Thrive Project, which is the retreat. And it's in a unique place, a world famous treehouse community. So there's no Wi-Fi. So I'm controlling. So this is going back to the environmental audit.
Okay.
I'm controlling the environment. And when I control the environment, people show up totally different because they're out of their environment. When they show up different, they act different. They open up to different experiences. And then once we go through the process of, you know, figuring out where they thrive, deleting and clearing blockages, then transformation can be rapid and fast and alter their life and their path dramatically. We've done it here in South Carolina with tremendous results. And so the first one we're launching in November, and we're filling up quickly.
Nice. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
But congratulations. I wish you much success, you and your family. And I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for sharing your story tonight, and, you know, providing tips for people who want to make their dreams a reality. So I thank you for honoring yourself and living your passion. And when, you know, you shine, you give other people permission to shine, as the quote says. Is it Marianne Williamson? So thank you, Ian. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And it's good to speak to you.
I know, right? After how many years? Okay, thank you. And I want to thank everyone who logged on and those who asked questions. Thank you very much. The link is in the chat box for the back pain quiz, which I will be taking because I know I sleep bad. So thank you and have a great night, everyone.